Hi, I'm the Space Quest historian, and we're joined here today to mourn and to celebrate the passing of Adobe Flash. It fell victim to filicide, yes, I had to look that up, on December 31st, 2020, when Adobe, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put a bullet in its brain. And we mourn that passing because that bullet also, in this very belabored metaphor, went through its head and straight down the line of thousands and thousands of creative people's Flash cartoons, Flash games, stupefyingly user-hostile websites made in Flash, and, oh shit, remember YouTube? Yeah, the site you're currently watching this on. This video player used to be Flash. But we also celebrate its passing because, let's be honest, Flash had more security flaws than the presidential suite at the Watergate. It was about as safe as a straw hut in a thunderstorm. It was about as wide open as a fisting enthusiast at a BDSM convention. Don't stop me, I've got a million of these. It left your system as vulnerable as a drunk girl at a fraternity party. It had more backdoor exploits than a necrophiliac in a funeral home. Okay, I think I'll stop there. Anyway, one group of pioneers within the Flash cartoon world was Homestar Runner, which I know absolutely nothing about. I'm serious, I'd never even heard of them until a person in my YouTube comments offered me $50 to play this game, and since I'm A, on my ass, and 2, apparently in the lucky position now where people will actually pay me to play games, I figured, why the hell not? Luckily, some friends of mine over in the SQH Discord were very much up on their Homestar Runner lore, and assured me that a deep and intricate knowledge of their illustrious Flash-based career was in no way a prerequisite for enjoying Peasant's Quest. In fact, I was assured that it was not only a well-crafted love letter to Sierra's mid-80s era, it was also very funny, very well designed, signposted its puzzles very well, and could be finished in about an hour. And they were right, for the most part anyway. We'll start at the beginning. This is our hero, rather dashing. He's a pretty modest hero, actually, seeing as he lives in a straw cottage, and he's also a hero with really shit luck, since that straw cottage caught fire while he was on vacation. Straw huts are notoriously vulnerable to dragon fire, and that's exactly what's happened here. Knowing full well which scaly bastard did this, and with no home and precious few prospects for the future, Mr. Dashing sets off to reap revenge on the dragon Trogdor, or die trying. He dies trying. But his journey to this grisly end, which I swear is the actual ending to the game, I'm not being funny, is indeed a lovely homage to Sierra's AGI games, complete with a text parser and cursor controls for moving Dashing around the screen. The main quest of the game is your typical 3 trials affair. You have to convince this asshole knight that you're an actual peasant because your clothes aren't shitty enough, you don't smell bad enough, and you also need to be on fire. These are indeed medieval times when the class gulf is so wide they expect you to set fire to yourself just to prove that you are indeed a lesser man than they. Well, let's explore the countryside then. Who's a good horse? Ow! Not you, I guess. No, actually, that's fair play. I was being mean to the horse. You don't kick a horse, and the game will straight up murder you if you try to kick the horse. This is a game that has no tolerance for animal cruelty. It has plenty of tolerance for cruelty to human infants, though. Look, I'm carrying a baby. Whoop! Oh, he made it back, and he got me a soda. And it's a soda sprite, since it's a graphic sprite and a soda. Look, if you think this is cute, you're gonna love this game. If you think this is grandpa humor, then congratulations on stumbling onto my channel, kid. My demographic, if YouTube analytics are to be believed, consists almost entirely of dudes in their late 30s and early 40s. So if you've never seen a cassette tape outside of Stranger Things, then grab a seat, son, and welcome to the Geriatric Fun Time Hour, where we think this sort of shit is hilarious. Oh look, I tossed him down a well and he brought me back a sandwich while you weren't looking. This is peak comedy. Honestly, I feel kind of bad for the little fella. I'm assuming he's a fella. The game calls him little guy. There is only one female character in this entire game, and she's the one who gave you the baby, and it's honestly kind of nasty, so I'm skimming over that bit. Point is, you use the kit to get into this hut, and the little fucker just crawls off when you're done.
Fuck. I'm gonna miss him.
In here, you find some peasant robes, so that's step 1 of the quest down. We now look the part. Next, we need to up our smell game. You do that by killing this giant. Yes, I know the sprite is wrong. I'm not wearing the robe here because I solved these puzzles in a different order when I was playing it, and I was hoping you wouldn't notice. Now, normally I'd go back and redo the footage, but I can't, since at current time of writing, it's January 4th, 2021, the game is now utterly broken. You can walk around the game world fine, but the diagonal keys have stopped working. You can pick up items, but they won't disappear from the screen, and you can't go inside any of the buildings, so the game is essentially unplayable, and I'm stuck with the footage I recorded in here, check this out, December 30th, 2020. Whew, just in the nick of time, eh? It's okay, the site says they're working on making it friendly with Ruffle, the open source Flash replacement, which I'm told, unlike Flash, doesn't leave you more scared and unprotected than a Catholic boy at his first private communion. See? I told you I had more. It still boggles my mind that this entire game was coded in Flash. I remember having to make a couple of advertisement banners in Flash back at my old job, and I was just working out how to do a fade transition between two static images was enough to make me swear never to work in Flash again. I have no idea how someone sits down and codes up a whole game engine with a working parser in it, but to me that's pure magic. Fuck dragons, fuck invisibility rings, fuck mirrors that foretell the future, and fuck spellcasters, wizards, warlock, witches, and magic-using dweebs. This right here, this is goddamn magic. Anyway, the giant smelled bad, so we grab his belt buckle, and now we smell bad too. That's 2 out of 3 down. Last, we need to set ourselves on fire, and this is where I ran into some trouble. See this guy here out in the lake? He's actually the innkeeper of this inn over here, which is closed because the fucker went out fishing. He's moaning about how he needs new bait. Well, there was a bag of chicken feet in the woman's hut. It was the first item I picked up, so naturally, since it's the only thing I'm carrying, I try and give it to him. Game says no dice. So off I fuck, thinking that wasn't the right answer. Turns out, you need to throw the feed into the lake. Now, maybe there was a hint for this somewhere, but I didn't see it. I tried giving this dude all my worldly possessions over the course of the ensuing 25 minutes, including this lovely gold bow, which I won in this super annoying but still pretty fucking impressive minigame. Anyway, when you throw the feed into the lake, somehow this makes him catch a shit ton of fish and thereby give up fishing and go and reopen the inn? Wait, what? What kind of fucking sense does that make? You'd think he'd be stoked and ready to give up a life of boring innkeeping to go be a heroic fisherman and tell tall tales of his fishing prowess at every peasant harbor in the known land. Harbor wenches throwing themselves at his feet and other harbor folk wistfully soaking up his radiance with the dreams of one day becoming half as successful and dashing at the art of murdering sea creatures as he is. Where the fuck was I? All right, the inn. Now, this is where the game starts to get a bit backwards logic-y on you, because our last remaining goal here is to set ourselves on fire, and earlier we got this hint from Mr. Knight that horse grease gives a nice controlled burn, so naturally you think old crotch puncher here might have something to do with it, but no. What you actually need to do is get a room at the inn, go to sleep, wake up in the middle of the night, and try to get the horse grease on his top shelf. The pot of horse grease then falls on your head, and you then go and set yourself on fire with this kerosene lamp. I have questions? Now, most of the puzzles in this game are really well signposted. For instance, this horse here. What you actually need him to do is run through that fence. Now, I won't bore you with the details, they're not important, but you pick up this mask from the well, and the game tells you point blank this thing could scare a horse. So, you go and scare the horse with it. This puzzle with the inn, though, that's backwards logic. This dick tickler never said he had horse grease in his pantry, and we had no reason to assume there was any horse grease in there, and if you try and open it while he's still in the room, he just says employees only, and if you try and ask him about it, he just says no comprende puta. So this is one of those instances where you just do something because the game lets you, and then try to work out later why it is you were doing it. Fine, we're on fire now, so we can pass the night up to the mountain. Now this joke only works if you're at least 30, but I am loving it. I'm not loving this mountain arcade sequence though, it's giving me skimmer sequence flashbacks. Now the skimmer sequence in Space Quest 1 was pioneering and an impressive technical achievement for its time, but I think we can all agree it hasn't aged like fine wine, at least not from a gameplay perspective. The rocks here do seem to fall randomly though, and thankfully RNGesus goes easy on me and I make it up to the top without taking a boulder to the noggin. These 3 dweeps ask you trivia about the game, which is right up there with mazes and timed events on my list of things that piss me off about games. I am not playing your game to take a test on it, that's not fun. If you get their questions right, you get some items, a helmet, a shield, and a sword. You only really need the sword, so you only need to get the last dude's answer right. And of course he also asks the hardest trivia question. You can also bribe them to skip the questions though, and that's where the baby tossing comes into play. I've already shown you the sandwich in the well and the soda from the lake. The third item is if you show the baby to the innkeeper, he gives you some anti-general oldness pills. I guess those count as food items. At first I tried to sell him since I thought me and the game were on some kind of level by this point, but no. He even lets you keep the little fucker. But I'm doing this the hard way, so I get all my trivia questions right and I'm armed to the teeth now. I go through the beaded curtain, which then slams shut behind me. I love that. And it's just me and the big scary dragon. Now if I go anywhere near the dragon, he vomits fire on me and I die. I can't go anywhere else. The shield says it will withstand the dragon's fire breath, but I try and tell my dude here to hold it up, and the game says no. I think maybe I distract him with food, but no. I think maybe if I wake him up, something interesting will happen at least, but no. Then I run around in circles for a bit, thinking maybe it's a timed event and he'll wake up eventually, but no. If you look at the sword in the inventory, it says you can't wait to lob off the dragon's arm with it, and yeah, the dragon actually has a human arm. I don't know what that's about, and I'm sure someone will tell me in the comments, but I gotta be honest, I don't really care at this point, because all I want to do is fight me some dragon, and the game won't let me. Turns out you're supposed to throw the sword at him. He then gives a long-winded speech, which is fully voiced by some retro text-to-speech engine. And then he kills you. Game over. You win, I suppose. So really, when I walked too close to him, I had already finished the game. In fact, by the time I went into this cave, I'd already finished the game. This business with lobbing the sword at him was just a little extra. And as far as the three dudes outside are concerned, I'm already the baddest of the badasses around. And they erect a statue of me posthumously, which I guess is nice. And that asshole's out fishing again. And oh look, our little chum is taking a swim. That's nice. I wonder how he stays afloat with his arms tucked in like that. But no, enough is enough. The game is over, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It had good writing. The visuals were a bit of a weird mishmash of quote-unquote high-res 320x200 stuff mixed in with old chunky pixel AGI stuff. But you know, Space Quest 4 did the same thing, so I'm not docking any points for that. Am I even giving out points here? I don't think so. It's a nice game. I had a fun time with it. Maybe it'll work again someday for everyone else. I sure hope so. I'm the Space Quest Historian. Adobe can go fuck themselves, and I'll see you around the Chrono Stream. Bye!